Hope everyone's doing well. It's a pleasure to be here today, and thank you for the lovely introduction. I'm just waiting. I think Kumar is going to be joining me in a bit. How are you guys doing today? Good? How's the day been? Tired? No talking? No communication? Well, till the time Kumar is coming in, joining me on stage, it's been a pleasure and always been a pleasure to talk about Australia. And today again, I think I'm going to be doing just a little bit of that. And just possibly play you a tune to get your energies revived a little bit before I can take your leave and you have some other activities to follow. So, sure.
Great. Come have a seat. So, when I was going through your profile, Raghav, you are indeed a child prodigy. Tell me, which instrument did you first start playing, and at what age?
Well, I started with the harmonica at the age of 4. I had my father play a very interesting tune to my mother. I was in bed, crawled out, and I heard him play the tune. In fact, I'll give you a bit of a demo of what he was playing, if you could just hold this for a second for me. The tune that he played was something like that.
Wow. And that's what you played when you were 4 years old?
When I heard this tune, it really intrigued me, and I crawled out of bed and I said that, listen, give me that thing, whatever you're playing. So he handed it off to me, and I played exactly the same thing back to him. So there was, of course, something that's known as an ear for music, which was inbuilt. And after that, I used to listen to a lot of this program called the Chitrahar. At that time, Doordarshan was the only thing that was happening here. So in Chitrahar, whatever songs I used to actually hear, I was able to play them back instantaneously. So that's how the beginning of my journey started. And then I had a deal with my father that every birthday he would gift me a new musical instrument.
Amazing. At 4, I don't remember, but I don't think I was even blowing the soap bubbles properly at 4, and you were playing the harmonica, right?
Started off.
Yeah. So you actually then studied music as in a degree,
Right.
So tell me, was that a decision which was difficult? I mean, did you face any opposition? Because clearly, as parents, I'm sure, or even extended family would have felt that you should be studying something serious or something more worthwhile, or what society would accept. Tell us a little more, about that.
Actually, I must say that I've been one of the luckiest ones around at that time, especially because music was not that big a deal that in the 80s, of course, 80s, 90s, So I always had a fabulous support from my parents and my father. As I said, that I did a deal with him that every birthday he would give me a new instrument, although he said that I will not give you anything for the rest of the year. That was a separate thing, so I used to run to mom to get me a bat or a tennis racket or whatever else. But every birthday, I would get a new musical instrument, whichever one I wanted. But as you said, especially coming from the relatives side, that's where they, I think, play a big role in negative criticism. But they came through and said that, exactly what are you sending this child for to Australia? So they said, okay, he's going to be doing a bachelor's of music. So the next question is, yeah, but what is he going to be studying? So that is something that we had to deal with. Of course, not me as a child at that time when I was 18, but of course my parents had to deal with it. And I have 2 elder sisters. My father's an ex-Director General of Police, so he wanted me to, or somebody from the family to be in either the armed forces or something like that. But from the beginning, since my focus was very, very at large, very globally decided to do music from the beginning, he never even tried it. I think the brunt was dealt with my earlier sisters. My elder sisters that went to the brunt of it. After that, I don't remember having a conversation with him that I will not, can I go and do music? It was always a decision that I had made while I was a child, that once I finish my basic education in India, I will definitely do music as further studies.
So you also hold a record of sorts of having self-learned huge number of different musical instruments. Tell us more about that.
Well, as again, everything boils down to the one birthday gift every year. So with the harmonica, see, if this is an instrument, just to give you an example, if I say that, okay, I want you to play a theme and on a tune, and if I say, Kumar, I want you to blow here, 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 and here, and you will get a particular tune. By the time it's in your mouth, you don't know where to do what.
Sure.
So a harmonica essentially is an instrument that you cannot teach anyone. It has to come from within. You have to have a sense of music, sense of tune, sense of rhythm to be able to actually just play this particular instrument. Of course, after that, I have a tendency of leaning towards the wind instruments. As you can see, I've got two of them. But I, in the middle, started playing the percussion. So bongo, congas, drums. I got the Best Drummer Award while I was, I think, 11 years old. What I used to do with that is keep the drum set in such a manner that play the drums with one hand and the other hand would play the harmonica. So I used to do two things at the same time when I was 11. That's how I got that particular award. But I always wanted to have an array of instruments, a variety which I could represent and present my thoughts and ideas in different ways, because how a harmonica sounds, the flute sounds differently. So does the saxophone. So it totally expresses feeling differently.
So how many instruments do you play now?
The recent count is 33. My last instrument that I picked up was the trumpet.
33 instruments. And most of these you have learned by yourself?
That's right.
Wow. So you are, the key word I think is self-learning. In this audience right now, we've got all corporate honchos, heads of learning and training. Our approach always has been learning and how we can direct it towards others, as heads of learning. It'll be interesting to learn from you, about self-learning, right? So, whilst you had a degree in music, but since most of the other instruments you've learned by yourself, tell us a little about that. I mean, is it something that you inculcate, or is it something more that just comes naturally to you, or you work towards it? How does it work?
I would say that the essential key point of self-learning is focus. And that's why I say that I'm strictly talking from a point of view of a musician and different instruments. All of these instruments are extremely difficult to be able to play, and they have their own set of complications as far as physical complications are concerned. Like while you're playing the flute, you have to keep your hand like that for a long amount of hours. So you end up having a back issue, or by the saxophone you do. So all these things being a part of it, guitar you cut your fingers very quickly. So focus is something that I would say has led me through even the determination that I had to learn a new instrument every year was something that would, my parents never felt, father never felt that, okay, I wasted an X amount of money in giving him the instrument, because I would put in that extra amount of effort to learn it and then possibly go and perform it at different places in different concerts and possibly get something out of that, either a medal or some kind of gratitude, whatever that may be, as a certificate or whatever. So I would say self-learning is something which is directly connected to focus. If you have focus for anything for that matter, and you are determined to do that, learning will at the end of the day prevail. But if while you're doing self-learning or somebody is teaching you, whatever the situation may be, if focus is not there and your mind is wandering here and there, then whether you want to learn it yourself or somebody has to sit with you and teach you or literally hammer it down in your head, it will not work.
What you're saying is it's something more innate.
Yes.
I remember I had read a long time ago that there was a song that you had composed in which every instrument in that song was played by you, right? How does that work? I mean, pretty much the entire orchestra, right? So
I had actually done a very interesting concert in Australia, which I have not been able to recreate over here somehow, which we will be doing in Bangalore now. My company is in fact doing it. I'll tell you what I did. So I invited everybody for a concert. So this entire hall is full of people such as yourselves, just sitting and waiting. And the entire stage is, there is a drum set, there is a bass guitar, there is a guitar, the piano, whatever else. There are some 20 instruments lined up. And every instrument that I play is being placed on a stand, adjusted to my height. So if there is a guitar, then I don't have to wear the guitar. Guitar is adjusted to my height. I just have to go there, take the stance and start playing. So when the MC announced okay, please put your hands together for so and so something, a name I had kept, I don't remember what at this time, but something ensemble, and everybody started clapping, and I walked out. I was the sole person walking out, and people were a little shocked at what exactly was going on. At that time, computers, of course, not, this was about 11 years ago now, so computers were not as advanced. So I had connected every instrument with a loop machine. So I went on the drum set, I started playing the drum beat, and the beat was a 32-bar solo sort of a thing, which is a groove that I played. So I then got up, went to the bass guitar, played a bass part, got up, went to the guitar, played the guitar chords on that, then went to the keyboard, did something like that. Then what I did was, I had placed the instruments in such a manner that the saxophone would be here, on the stand where I don't have to wear it. The flute will be here placed on the stand where I don't want to hear it, wear it, and a harmonica on the other side. A clarinet over here, another instrument, a didgeridoo over here. So everything is pretty much at just movable distance for me. So then I did something known as a jugalbandi, which is an Indian term, or for Westerners it would be something like calling a jam session with myself. So the entire structure is created, the music piece is playing, and I end up playing a part, something like that. So I was just changing my mouth position to different instruments and actually jamming with myself in that entire act that I created. So that's something that really gave me a huge amount of thrill, and of course people got very excited as well. We did something else to take it forward, to have an audience interaction. Now this is where innovation in learning or something like that would come in, where the first row was given a bansuri, which is a flute, an Indian flute, so to say, with one note only, no holes in it, so you can't change the note. So the first row, for instance, has the note C, the third row has the note E, and the fifth note has the note G. So anybody who's a musician would know that if all these three notes are played together, it becomes a chord. So at a particular time, I went on to the drum set, and I'm playing the drum set, and I'm guiding the people who are actually in the audience to jam with me while they're playing. So if I say, okay, you have to just blow into the flute, go tat 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 tat, and the entire row is playing like that, it will sound fabulously cool because the notes cannot be changed. So one note C is being just played by a bunch of 20 people, and I'm playing the drums with them and jamming with them, so to say. This being a live thing, I recently have just done another very interesting thing with something called a DIY, which is do it yourself, which is the kind of music that is a lot of people, Westerners, doing it these days. What I did was, since I play a lot of instruments, I've done a bit of a beatboxing, so something like that becomes a drum solo. On top of that, I sang, I did harmonies, I did a pad, everything singing, and the flute and the harmonica and the saxophones. A very nice old song called Gulabi Aankhein. Gulabi aankhein jo teri dekhi, sharabe ye dil ho gaya. Sambhalo mujhko, o mere yaron, sambhalna mushkil ho gaya. That song, created with the different things that I did, which is going to be releasing in the next 1 week. Again, something like a DIY kind of a thing that you just mentioned.
Wow, lovely. That's releasing in India next week?
Yes, that should be out by the 15th.
We wish you all the best for that.
Thank you.
All the best, and I'm sure it'll be a successful piece that you release.
Thank you.
I see you brought a fancy-looking flute along.
Right.
Tell us more about this. When you learned this, and what's unique about it.
Well, when I spoke to you, you said get two instruments. I thought the two instruments that have really been so to say, the journey breaker, I would get them. And harmonica being the one that started my entire journey. Flute was an instrument that took the longest time for me to actually get a sound out of. If anybody has tried playing the flute over here, they would know that it's extremely difficult to actually blow into it and get a sound. After you get the sound, this particular flute, I'm sure everybody who's from Australia knows the metallic flute, and it's a little different than the Indian flute. Indian flute or the bansuri has only 6 holes. This has some 21 keys in it. So every combination of a particular key and notes essentially creates a note, and flats and sharps and so on and so forth. So it took me a long time to actually get a hang of the flute, and flute takes a lot of air out of you, to contrary belief. You would think the saxophone would take more air out of you, but no, it's the other way around. You end up losing a lot more air while you're playing the flute, and you have to breathe more frequently. And what happens when you're doing this with the wind instruments is that you get dehydrated very quickly. So you get a bit of a drowsy kind of thing when you're rehearsing or practicing. So flute actually took like about 9 months for me to have some kind of decent amount of playable capability. And I did my first possible solo with my school band.
How old were you that time?
I think I was about 8, 9 years old.
That's when you learned the flute by yourself.
That's when I started picking up the flute myself.
So why don't you play a note before you leave?
Sure.
Sure.
Well, this is a track which I'm sure a lot of you would have heard. I'm playing a track, just a contemporary flute technique oriented thing called Bure. I think the Australians would remember this. It's an old bar.